Good morning, everyone. I appreciate you coming on early. We're going to get started here in about 15 seconds. I will do my best to record this webinar and, I'll try to email it out later today. So, I get it. You get busy, things happen, the phone rings, whatever, don't worry. I'll, I'll try to get you a recording of this and you can watch what you missed. So let me kind of introduce myself. My name is Ken French. And, for those that don't know myself and Kerry, basically we own a company called Snoozy, and we have been partnered with Amanda now for about, I'd say, almost 3 years. And long story short, we grew up in the insurance business. I got in the business back in the late 90s. Kerry joined kind of in the early 2000s. Could be a Netflix show. We met at the office and got married and have kids and all that, and started our own company. But long story short, I personally grew up in the industry. My grandfather was in it. My father was in it. And back in the 70s, my father and uncle started kind of like an FMO. And in the late 90s, I joined the company, and we did not sell insurance, but we helped independent agents who sold employee benefits, Medicare, life, health insurance, get contracted and grow their business. And my role at the company became technology. So I used to have to go drive around New Jersey, New York City, Pennsylvania, and I would meet agents at their offices, and I would try to teach them, like, hey, if you want to grow your business and stay in this, you got to get rid of your fax machine. You got to get a thing called email, and you need to get a scanner because the carriers are going to make you scan all these apps to them. This was back in 1998 or whatever. And anyways, the years went on. I started to really help agents get agency management systems and then build their first websites and use social media to kind of, for retention and to grow their business. Well, anyway, long story short, healthcare reform came in 2009. And at that point, my father and uncle, they had gotten old. They were scared to death of healthcare reform. They sold the business. They retired. They play golf every day now. And when they sold the business, me and Kerry were kind of like, well, what do? Do we go to the company that bought us? Will that company be around in 5 years? So we decided to take a few of our IT guys who were already working with us, and we formed our own company called Snoozy. And basically what we do is we specifically work with independent insurance agents, and we help them build their own websites, and we can help them post on social media. So what I really want to talk about today, and before I get into specifics, I saw this the other day. Amanda had posted this on social media, and I thought this was brilliant. I think the number one thing I always try to explain is when I present things, I do try to present these as a fellow business owner. Sure, Medicare is one of the main things we're talking about, but in the end, we are all business owners, and making good business decisions is imperative to really getting to the next level. And this was just something, she posted, but I think it's so true. And, I'm going to kind of give everyone a disclaimer. And really what my disclaimer is I'm going to try to go through and share some ideas and tools and strategies that I see other agents using in this market, in the Medicare market. But just because I'm going through all these tools and strategies doesn't mean that absolutely every one of them is something that you need to implement. My goal, hopefully, is to kind of educate you a little bit on what's going on out there. And then I'm hoping that you can kind of say, okay, which one of these ideas that Ken is talking about is going to work for me? And I think that's so important when you talk about a website. There isn't like a book on this. It's really about what fits your style and what fits the way you run your business. So that's kind of my disclaimer. What we're really going to talk about today are a few kind of concepts. And I think number one, personal service is still imperative in this Medicare market. In no way, shape, or form am I some sort of e-commerce guy who's trying to push you that everything's going to be sold online. You're never going to meet another client. That is the opposite of who I am. Again, I've grown up in this business. I'm kind of an old school person. Even though I'm in my 40s, I still believe in relationships, in generating referrals, in cross-selling products. So the main tone of all of this is that you still need to meet with clients. You still need to create relationships. It's just in 2023, you need a website. You need an active business social media presence, and you need a strategy. It's kind of like what I tell my little daughter. I say, look, if you're going to play the game, you need the equipment. You can't go play lacrosse without a lacrosse stick. You can't go out and sell Medicare in today's world without a website. I mean, that's my opinion. You can certainly challenge it. I know Amanda agrees with it. But at the end of the day, I think that those, these are the foundational things. So what we want to go through today is to figure out, okay, if I'm going to have the equipment, right? If I'm going to have the website, if I'm going to have this social media presence, how do I get the most results out of it? And, again, I can't stress enough that the key to success is personal service and support, picking up the phone, meeting your client, educating your client, doing community events where obviously you're creating a relationship with people and you're showing them that you're the expert. That being said, you need to find a way to be open 24/7. And make no mistake, you're allowed to go to sleep and you're allowed to go on vacation. But my point is having these online tools can allow you to do that. And that's what I'm going to kind of go through today. So, our main concepts today, obviously are going to be, obviously we're going to talk about branding yourself. Very important. We're going to talk about how to be available 24/7, yet still sleep. And we're going to talk about customer service. And most importantly, the whole umbrella over all of this is CMS compliance. Obviously one of the things that I mentioned my background, I'm very aware of all of this compliance. Obviously last May, on May 18th, there was some big changes that came out. Everyone's aware, new disclaimers, new call recording rules, all of that stuff is a fundamental rule that we have to play by. So you got the equipment and you got the rules. All of that kind of stuff is obviously part of what we're trying to project here. So, let me start off with a little story. And, obviously it's a new year, right? So New Year's are good, but sometimes New Year's are bad. And, obviously we're coming off AEP 2022. And I got a call earlier this year from a new agent. And she had just started in the summer, and her main focus was going to be being at Walmart and obviously meeting people and having a table and all that kind of stuff. So she called up and basically said, look, I'm really bummed out. I'm thinking about quitting the business. I sat there at Walmart, for a few months. I passed out 500 business cards. I got 2 calls back, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm really upset. So I said, well, let's talk about this like a business owner. I said, okay, so you're passing out these business cards. Can you send me the business card? Can I see what it looked like? And it kind of looked like something like this, right? It just kind of said her name and it had a phone and email address. And I said, well, look, probably half of the problem here is that you're just a phone number. And, of course, no website, no social media presence, really no online presence at all. If you Googled this girl, she doesn't exist, right? So I tried to explain to her, I said, look, you got to know your target market. And the Medicare consumer, they're going to talk to at least 6 people before they enroll. I went to a really good NAHU meeting a few months back, and that was a statistic when they were talking about Medicare. The average consumer talks to 6 agents before enrolling. So if all you are is, one of the 6, and this is what you're presenting, why would you get a call back, right? So I always kind of say, think of yourself like a business owner. These things are occurring. You're doing community events. You're sitting at tables. How are these people going to come back to you? Now, one of the things that she said that I kind of felt bad is she said, look, a lot of times I'd have 20, 30-minute conversations with these people. I thought I had a bond with them. And I said, well, you probably did. But you know what? People are busy. It's kind of during the holiday season. Some of these people, a little older, maybe they kind of forget after a week or two. So I said, you have to be more to these people than just a phone number. Maybe they forget, even though you had that 20 minutes, having that website, having that active social media presence, just kind of having a business card that's a little bit more, hey, this is my brand. Remember me? Here's my picture. If you want to learn more about me, go to my website. If you want to set up a meeting with me, go to my website. So I'm not telling everyone on today's call, go develop new business cards. But what I'm saying is obviously if you're trying to do things and you're meeting people, you need to give them a little bit more depth about you. And again, I think it starts with having this online brand. So that's the first thing we're going to talk about, is having the online brand where, you know, when the consumer goes to your website, they kind of immediately understand who you are and why they should work with you. So, you know, here's kind of one of those sample websites I've built, and, you know, kind of has Michelle on here. So imagine you got her business card, you talked to her 3 weeks ago, and then you woke up and said, oh, I gotta figure out this Medicare stuff. The deadline's coming up. You go to the website. Oh yeah, I remember Michelle. Yeah, I remember she's got 2 dogs. You know, let me just kind of go through and learn about her. Why should I work with Michelle? Okay, she's doing this and this. Oh, she's got some testimonials from people she helped. Oh, I'm just like this person. Okay, yeah, you know what? I'm going to schedule a meeting with her. So my point is I think that's where we start, is kind of having this brand where when people go to your website, there's an overview about you. It tells why they should work with you, what your process is. Are you going to do an in-home appointment? Are you going to call them up? Are you doing a Zoom call? What is the process? Remember, maybe I've already talked to 5 other agents and I'm considering all of them. And I'm trying to find somebody I'm comfortable with. So this website, you know, I think one of the biggest mistakes insurance agents make, and this goes back to 2002 since I've been building them, everybody wants to make the focus of the website about the product. They want to have 700 pages about what Medicaid is and what Medicare Part B does. Sure, a little bit of that is good, but really the main focus of this website should be about your business and why I'm choosing your business, right? Why should I work with you? So just a few tips on your website. I think you have to have this branded section. You really should have your picture on there. You really should have, and I'm going to just pull up a sample of one of my clients I work with. You know, I think if you have a logo or if you have your picture, there obviously should be a page about you and why they should work with you. You know, I think Bonnie does a great job here of kind of going through, hey, this is what I can help you with. We'll talk about your timeline. We'll talk about, you know, obviously your prescriptions and your doctors. And she kind of outlines what a meeting with her is going to be like. Obviously, she's got some good testimonials from current clients that they're stories. They talk through what were these people going through. I mean, obviously they're long, right? These are long testimonials, but they're stories that talk about, hey, this is what my parents were going through, and this is what Bonnie did to help them. So I think that is my first suggestion, is when you have a website, first focus on you and your brand. If it's just you and you're an independent agent, that's okay. Your website doesn't need to be a big agency website. It needs to be about you. But you have to have, obviously, information on there on why somebody should work with you. And then secondly, you can't underestimate the power of social media. So again, just kind of looking at her presence, you know, again, imagine yourself being a consumer who's kind of comparing, which one am I going with? They go, oh, look, she's got a Facebook page. They're kind of scrolling through and seeing really good educational content posted every day, right? You go to her LinkedIn profile, and when you click on it, the LinkedIn profile, it says the same story as the website and the Facebook page. I don't want to ramble on much in this webinar, but one of the biggest problems I see with agents is inconsistent brands. They have a website, says, hey, I specialize in Medicare. But then you go to the LinkedIn page, oh, I specialize in real estate. If I'm a consumer and I see this, to me, that's what I call an inconsistency. It makes me feel uncomfortable. It's a red flag. And I see that more often than not. The website says one thing. The LinkedIn says another thing. The Facebook page says another thing. There's no rule that says you can't do a lot of different things. You can be an entrepreneur. You can do Medicare. You can do real estate. You can make your own jewelry. You can do whatever you want. But just try to keep a consistent message out there that says, hey, this is who I am. This is what I specialize in. These are the secondary things I offer. Obviously, cross-selling is a very important part of this business. But being inconsistent creates client instability, creates concerns. So one of the things I try to do when I help new clients on my end is we review these things and we kind of come up with a consistent message. So that's strategy one, making sure your online brand tells people why they should work with you. Strategy number two is you need to be able to help people 24/7. You need to actually improve your client experience. I always kind of joke around and say, look, how good is your customer service if I can't talk to you? People shake their head and go, oh no, you'll always be able to talk with me. I don't agree with that. If you're successful, you're going to be on the phone helping people all day long. There's going to be times when people can't get in touch with you. So having your website set up to kind of handle people, to kind of, I'm not saying it replaces you, but at least makes the person feel comfortable that, hey, okay, eventually, I can get what I need from this client. So what I'm trying to say is your website should offer some tools on it that can help the consumer if they're not able to chat with you. Maybe it's the middle of the night, maybe you're on vacation, maybe you're on the phone. At the bare minimum, your website should give the consumer the ability to schedule a meeting with you. If we kind of look at, obviously Amanda's website, I know this has been huge for her, where someone can go, they can click schedule a meeting, they can choose what type of meeting they want to set up, and obviously they can do it. If we go back to Bonnie's website, again, schedule a meeting, we go right into her calendar, you can set up a meeting pretty quickly. Obviously, if I can't get in touch with her at that second, I still feel pretty good that, okay, I've set up a meeting with her, I've gotten a confirmation, and even though she's not picking up, I'm moving forward here. So obviously, having some sort of scheduling software on the site, I think it's pretty much a requirement now. It's funny, I went to the dermatologist a month ago, and after the visit, oh, we need to schedule your next meeting. We're going to text you a link. You can do it yourself. I go to the dentist. We're going to text you a link. You can do it yourself. It's becoming more and more common in the world, right? And I think that's one of the things, and I tried to stress it initially, we're all business owners here. And just because we sell Medicare and it's kind of a weird world we're in, it doesn't mean that we can't look at other businesses, other types of businesses, and see how they're managing their clients and their business and try to incorporate that into our model. So I think as we've pushed forward post-COVID, letting the consumer kind of see your calendar and schedule a meeting has become a norm. You could easily go to an app called Calendly. They have a free version. Probably by the end of this webinar, you could have it on your website and running. It's that simple. So I think that's something to consider. Other things to consider are really trying to make your website a little bit more functional. Again, I stress that personal hands-on service is the key to really having a great book of business and having good retention and getting referrals. But if the client is going to your website before they chat with you, maybe you have a meeting scheduled with them for 1 o'clock today. Maybe they're just Googling you. They're doing a little bit of diligence. All right, let me remember who this person is. Let me make sure they're legit. Having some tools on the website before they chat with you or even after they chat with you, I think are important. Letting them look at FAQs about different, potential questions they might have. Basic videos. Obviously, if you can make your own video, that's amazing. Very powerful. If you can't make your own video, there's a lot of generic free ones out there that are educational from CMS that review enrollment periods in different parts of Medicare. And then obviously trying to find a way to incorporate some of your shopping tools. If we look at, Bonnie's site, and even Amanda has this too on her site, obviously there's a lot of personalized URLs and platforms out there where, people can go into shop and compare various carriers. It doesn't mean that you're making them shop online themselves and not using you, but it means you're giving them the ability to self-educate a little bit before they come meet with you. And I think that's a powerful tool. And there's things out there from various FMOs. If you're selling ACA health insurance, there's companies like Health Sherpa. Obviously, the individual carriers like the standalone dental plans, they offer you these little shopping links that you can put on your site. And obviously, people can go in there and, they can shop online and like I said, get a better understanding of what's going on with the products you offer. Again, I'm a real world guy. What's happening in the world? Think about buying a car. Does anybody just go to the dealership without knowing anything about the car they want and say, hey, car salesman, tell me everything I need to know. I trust you. No, nobody does that. In today's world, you go on to the website. If you're trying to get a new Jeep, you're going on to the Jeep dealership website and you're saying, hey, I want to get this Jeep, but I need to have an automatic transmission. And I'd really like to have the bigger tires. So you can go on that website and you can kind of build your own Jeep. And, oh, if I put the automatic transmission in, it's an extra $3,000. And the bigger tires are an extra $1,500. Okay, it looks like this is going to be $45,000. Then you go down to the dealership and you say, hey, salesman, let's talk about this. I'm not saying that I'm comparing everyone here to car salesmen, but what I'm comparing is that consumers out in the world, they're using these types of websites to self-educate, to feel a little bit more comfortable. And obviously people who are turning 65, they all have smartphones. They're obviously somewhat intelligent when it comes to using iPads and using the internet. Implementing your personalized URLs could give you an advantage over the agent who just has that billboard GoDaddy website with their picture and phone number on it, right? So those are things to keep in mind. And then strategy number 3 is probably the most important of all, and that is improving your customer service once these people are your clients. Facts, another kind of quick tip. The number one reason a client says they find another agent is because they couldn't get in touch with their current agent. And one of the things that I have noticed out there, and I think this is actually like a legitimate problem. I could probably start another company that somehow solves this. You would be surprised how, well, let me go back to the starting line. I think probably about 80% of the agents out there, they use their cell phones as their work phone. There's nothing wrong with that. Probably a good idea. Cut some costs. It's all you need today, right? The problem with these cell phones, especially if you use a company like Verizon or Sprint or whatever, they only give you so much storage for your voicemail. And one of the things that I have noticed is, when I will call agents, they'll reach out to me and say, Ken, I'd like to chat with you. Let's set up a consultation. I will call them up and I get their voicemail. Oh, hello, you've reached Mary Smith, Medicare. I'm unavailable. Please leave a message. And then it goes, boop, this user's voicemail is currently full. I'm almost 100% confident Mary Smith is not intentionally keeping her voicemail full. She just doesn't realize it's full. There's no real warnings about it. There's no, you would just have to kind of go into your voicemail section on your phone and see, oh, it maxed out 50 megs of 50 megs. I got to delete some of these voicemails. But my point is this. My point is think of the consumer. Okay, you got to talk to Mary Smith. She is the expert in Medicare. She's going to help you when you turn 65. Here's her phone number. Okay, let me call Mary Smith. Boom, voicemail full. Well, that's kind of weird. Her voicemail's full, not very professional. Is she out of business? Did something happen? My point is I am not kidding you when I tell you 50% of the agents I call who don't pick up, I get their voicemail. And usually 50% of them say, I don't even check my voicemail. You got to text me. And I always kind of scratch my head and go, this agent's never going to make it. The consumer's not going to put up with that. So my point is as you start to grow your business, obviously your book starts to get bigger. All that is good. But you have to have ways to help people if you can't talk to them. Obviously, having a full voicemail on your cell phone, that's just silly. That's going to cost you business. I mean, that's just a lack of focus. But there are other, realities that you have to try to overcome. And I think one thing that's clear is if you're on the phone a lot, people are going to get your voicemail, and that's okay. And I think what you need to do is on your voicemail say, hey, you can leave a message, or if you want, you can text me. This is a cell phone. Or if you want, you can go to my website and you can click on my calendar and set up a customer service meeting with me, and I'll call you back. And I think that's all the consumer wants. They just want to know that you're there, that you haven't disappeared on them. and that they're moving forward to get their problem solved. I mean, we do live in a world now where, like, if you have to go to the doctor, the odds of getting a doctor appointment today or tomorrow, very unlikely. Sometimes it can be weeks in the future. So I think most consumers, they get it. You know, we're busy, things take a little while, but you got to give them a path, right? You got to give them a path to work with you. So, you know, to me, I think that regardless if you need to have a website and all that stuff, I think that's something to think about is if people are calling your voicemail, are you giving them direction, or are you just kind of a black hole where they're not sure you're going to ever get back to them? If they can text you, tell them that. Some people don't understand that. Hey, you can text this number and I might get back to you quicker. So having things like that are important, but also having things on your website that obviously, you know, people can use are important. I'm just kind of going through one of my sample sites. You know, I kind of have a simple form where people can just go update the drugs they're on and the doctors they take and the pharmacies they're on. Another sample is just maybe having a simple client update form. I don't want to go too much into rambling on, but I had a client this fall, very, very nice lady, been in this Medicare business basically since the beginning, obviously a little older at this point. And she said to me, she said, Ken, I'm running out of gas. She said, one of the things that I know it's so important, but it's so exhausting is every September, I personally mail every one of my clients a letter. And that letter basically says, get ready for AAP, blah, blah, blah. But if you have updated your information, if you've moved, if you have new contact info, if you have new drugs and new doctors, I need that information. So I said, okay, well, that's good that you're doing that. I go, how are you getting the info? And she said, well, for every person I mail, they have to fill out this paper, and then I put a return envelope in there, which costs me whatever, 44 cents times 500. And she said, it's very expensive. But the problem is every year, the amount of letters I get back decreases consistently. She said back in 2010, I used to get 60% back. 2020, it was down to, 15%. And now I'm down to like 5%. And I'm really upset because this is vital info and it's, I'm exhausted and I have to now call everybody. So I said, well, why don't we try something different this year? Why don't I build you a special page on your website, kind of like this one sample here, where, and again, this is a little bit more simple than what she had, but, where we can basically say, if any of this information has changed, just visit this website, click on this link and fill out the form and it'll send me your information. It's obviously HIPAA compliant, all that kind of stuff. So long story short, she did implement that this year, back up to 45% conversion. So my point is, having your website, having tools on it that people can use, it makes a difference. We're in 2023. You can't be sending out 500 letters and expect the consumer to hand write a letter and put it back in the mailbox. People are just lazy. I get what you're trying to do. It makes sense, but you have to handle that. I guess what I'm trying to say is your client experience doing it that way, it's not 2023 valid. You have to catch up with the times and provide customer service to these people in a way that they're going to do it. And having these types of things built into your website, whether it's letting them schedule with you, whether it's letting them obviously update their info, or just kind of letting them know more things that you do, it's going to help with their retention. It's going to help obviously with the cross-selling, which is vital, and it's going to help you get more referrals. So just to kind of summarize here, I can't stress enough, selling Medicare, it's not a sprint. You don't make enough money with one sale. It's a marathon. And, it's a great business to be in. You can really help people, obviously see smiles on people's faces and really see the value of your education and work. But the problem is the bigger and more successful you get, the bigger that backpack you carry on your back. And like I said, you're in a marathon and it gets heavy. And for anyone who's on today's call, who's been doing this for 10, 15 years and you got a few hundred clients, you know what I mean when I say you got that pack on your back and it never comes off. So I think to me, that's kind of the purpose of technology. And I've been saying this for 20 years. It's not that we're trying to replace ourselves with online enrollment. It's the opposite of that. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a better customer experience for our business so that, people can talk with us or learn about us if we're not able to talk to them. And people can get customer service if we're on the phone. And, like I said, I go back to those things. Number one reason consumers leave agents and change agents, they can't get in touch with agents. And, you start to kind of go back to the other things where they're talking to 5, 6, 7 agents before they make decisions. All these things add up when you're talking to 400 or 500 people over a year. And having these kind of, like I think I said it in the first few slides, you got to have the equipment and you got to know what the rules are. And it's going to help you play the game. And I think these are things that become important, as you try to push forward. Because make no mistake, and I know Amanda preaches this too, you're not supposed to work 24/7 where you don't sleep and never take a vacation. You're gonna burn out and collapse. You're not gonna finish the marathon. So you have to develop systems that allow you to increase your volume. And I think that that's what I was talking about initially on that first slide. Hopefully I went through a few ideas here that, you can implement that can save you 20 minutes a week here, an hour a week here, make your customer service better, make your selling techniques better, but still you provide that personal hands-on service and do what you do best. And I think that's the key. So, real quick, for those of you that came on late or don't know, Kerry and I, we work specifically with independent agents. If you work with Amanda, we offer special pricing to you on our services. And really what we do is we help independent agents. It doesn't have to just be Medicare. I mean, we help, you can sell Medicare, health, employee benefits, P&C, life. Our goal is kind of to learn your style and to learn how you're doing business, and then kind of do all the technical design work that maybe you don't have time for, or maybe you're just not sure how to do. And like I said in the beginning, the main theme is CMS compliance. I always joke around with people, but I mean it very seriously. I say, look, you don't pay me enough for me to get fined because you told me to do something, and then CMS got, either CMS or the carrier or the upline caught it and found out. So we're very proactive with that. Basically what my process is step one, if any of this interests you, I would be more than happy to chat with you for about 15 minutes and just kind of talk through your product focus, talk through your style on how you're doing things. And then I can kind of process that and say, hey, here are a few ideas on how I think I can help you get to the next level by building you a website that can incorporate X, Y, and Z, or getting your social media presence active. And, if there's synergy there and you say, hey, you know what, this is great, I agree. My process is we would set up about a 30-minute interview, go through everything. Then I can kind of give you a little list of what I need. And then I do all the work. I will build out a brand new site. It takes about 4 days to build a rough draft. We'll work on the branding. We'll work on the sales technology. We'll work on customer service technology. All that stuff we'll develop. If you don't have a domain name and all that, I'll help you strategize. And basically, once it's up and running, Kerry and myself, we kind of become your back office. So if you need changes, we're here. You just email them to us, call us, we handle it. If CMS makes big changes, we're already aware of it. We're going to go into the site. We're going to make the changes. Anyone who's my client who's already on today's call can verify that back on May 19th, when that new disclaimer came out, on May 20th, it was on every one of my clients' websites who sold Medicare. So we take all that stuff very seriously. Obviously, our finger is on the pulse of this industry, so we're pretty aware of what goes on. But again, we can help you with a website. If you already have a website and you just, your social media is lacking and it's not active, we can make sure you're set up with a Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter business page, and we can post educational CMS compliant content for you Monday through Friday. If you needed help with both the website and the social media, that is kind of what our elite package is. It's just a combination of both. So what I suggest is, I'm going to email over a copy of this webinar. I will certainly do my best to send over a little bit more information about what I do. Of course, I will answer some questions that are going to come in here in the next few minutes. You can kind of type them into the GoToMeeting toolbar. But if you get a chance, you can always go to Amanda's website. And if you go under insurance agents, you'll see agent website and social media services. And that just kind of takes you to my little special website for Amanda. And on here, you can view samples of some of our websites. Obviously, you can go in and look at our different services. I have some little quick videos that review the process and how it works. But to me, this is the starting point. If you're kind of at that point in 2023 where you're like, you know what, maybe I need to get this stuff tuned up and to the next level, I suggest you just click on the I'm interested next step button, fill out this little form, and I will reach out to you and we'll set up a little 15-minute call to talk through your situation and see if there's any synergy. One thing I didn't mention, I don't have any setup costs. It's not like we charge you $1,000 to build this. The thing that I try to be very upfront with is we're very blunt here. Like if we chat and you kind of say, well, Ken, I need help with X, Y, and Z. And I say, well, you know what? I don't think I can accomplish X, Y, and Z. I will tell you that. I mean, I'm very blunt. It takes us, like I said, about 4 days to build these sites. I'm not going to spend 30 hours developing you a website that in a month or two, you're going to say, not helping me. So I'm a big believer in long-term relationships myself and having a game plan that I'm accountable for and that you're accountable for. And all that stuff can be figured out, if we set up a quick little chat. So if anyone has any kind of general questions, I would be happy to try to answer them. If not, like I said, some of this stuff is more, big picture stuff. But anyway, I don't see anything too specific coming in at this point. So anyway, let me work on getting this webinar put into YouTube, and I will send everyone an email, and we'll go from there. I appreciated your time, and hopefully you picked up a thing or two. Thanks again, and have a great day. Bye-bye.